There was a time when female desirability was effortless, when being a woman meant being wanted, when youth, softness, femininity, and mystery were currencies more powerful than gold. When a woman didn't chase attention, attention chased her. But that era is dead. And the truth no one wants to admit is this: female desirability is collapsing in the modern age, and most women don't even see it happening. Before we go deeper, hit subscribe and like the video. The collapse didn't start with men. It didn't start with dating apps. It didn't start with feminism. It started with something far more subtle, far more psychological, far more devastating. The moment women believed they could replace feminine value with masculine performance. For thousands of years, desirability wasn't just beauty. It was energy. It was grace. It was softness, warmth, intuition, emotional depth, traits that make men feel alive, grounded, connected. Traits that differentiate a woman from the world outside. But modern culture told women those traits were weaknesses. That to be strong, they must be hard. To be independent, they must be guarded. To be equal, they must be masculine. And gradually, femininity died not by force but by abandonment. Modern women didn't lose desirability because they became empowered. They lost desirability because they became indistinguishable from men. Same language, same energy, same aggression, same emotional patterns, same competitiveness, same emotional detachment. A woman who rejects her feminine essence becomes a psychological clone of the very men she expects to attract. But here's the twist: men are not drawn to duplicates. Men are drawn to polarity. So when femininity collapses, desire collapses with it. You can see the collapse everywhere. Women louder than the men they want. Women competing instead of connecting. Women treating relationships like negotiations. Women valuing independence more than intimacy. Women confusing entitlement with standards. Women chasing careers while their emotional world falls into ruin. Women replacing softness with sarcasm, warmth with dominance, vulnerability with ego. And beneath the confidence, fear. Fear of irrelevance. Fear of aging. Fear of being alone. Fear of being overshadowed by younger women who still carry the feminine energy they abandoned. Fear of losing the attention that once seemed guaranteed. Modern women mistake visibility for desirability. They confuse likes with longing. They confuse attention with intention. They confuse lust with value. They confuse options with worth. But desirability is not measured by how many men want to sleep with you. Desirability is measured by how many men want to stay. And men are not staying. Why? Because modern female psychology changed. The traits that made women deeply desirable have been replaced with traits that make women exhausting. You can't keep a man if you compete with him. You can't inspire devotion if you offer chaos. You can't create intimacy if your identity is built on pride. You can't be cherished if you treat affection like a transaction. You can't sustain attraction if you resent femininity. And you cannot be desired if your entire personality revolves around proving you don't need anyone. Men don't desire women who act like rivals. Men desire women who act like women. But let's go deeper. There is another reason desirability is collapsing. Abundance killed appreciation. The moment attention became infinite, women began to believe desire was their birthright. Every DM, every match, every DM, every compliment inflated the ego but hollowed the soul. Validation became addictive. Options became illusions. Standards became delusions. And entitlement became oxygen. A woman used to choose a man. Now she chooses attention. And attention is the fastest path to emotional bankruptcy. You see it in the way women date today. They don't see men as partners, they see men as upgrades. They don't see commitment as fulfillment, they see it as limitation. They don't see relationships as shared journeys. They see them as negotiations of benefits. When love becomes a business contract, desire dies. But here is the darkest truth. The collapse of female desirability is self-inflicted. The more power modern women gained, the less they respected the men who gave it. The more independence they pursued, the less connection they kept. The more they were told they deserve everything, the less they bring to the table. The more they hardened themselves to avoid vulnerability, the more they killed the very qualities that created attraction. And now, for the first time in history, men are leaving. Quietly, consistently, permanently, not because they hate women, but because modern women no longer give men something worth staying for. Men don't want perfection. They want peace. They want gentleness. They want softness, cooperation, emotional intelligence, loyalty. But modern women were conditioned to see these traits as degrading. So instead of becoming desirable, they became defended. And a defended woman cannot inspire desire. But the collapse goes deeper because modern women age into a harsher reality. When they are young, desirability is given freely. They don't have to earn it. They don't have to reciprocate it. They don't have to nurture it. But age exposes what beauty hides. After 30, desirability is no longer external, it becomes psychological. And if she never developed the traits that build lasting attraction, she finds herself alone not because she is unattractive, but because she is emotionally unapproachable. Men see it. Men talk about it. Men move differently around it. When a man becomes successful, disciplined, emotionally stable, and self-sufficient, his value rises. When a woman becomes older without emotional growth, her desirability drops. This isn't misogyny. This is market psychology. A man's desirability is built over time. A woman's desirability must be maintained over time. And modern women were never taught maintenance, they were only taught entitlement. Let me show you how this plays out. There's Laura. She spent her 20s enjoying attention, rejecting good men because she believed better was always coming. But attention isn't permanent. Now at 34, she feels invisible, anxious, confused. Not because she lost beauty, but because she never developed the traits beauty hides. There's Brianna. She built her identity on being strong, dominant, independent. She thought men would admire her power. They admired her achievements but felt nothing emotionally. Power attracts employees, not partners. There's Mia, sweet, beautiful, charismatic. But she lives online. Her value is measured in validation. And validation is cheap. The more she chases it, the more hollow she becomes. No man wants to partner with someone who lives for strangers. There's Hannah, smart, ambitious, successful. But she speaks to men like opponents. Every conversation is a debate. Every disagreement is disrespect. Every moment is a test. She doesn't understand why men withdraw. She doesn't realize she treats partnership like war. And then there's Sophie, who spent years believing femininity was oppression. She hardened herself into stone. Now she wants love but doesn't know how to receive it. Her walls became her identity. Her independence became her prison. These women didn't lose desirability because of age. They lost it because they abandoned the psychology that creates human connection. Desirability is not looks. It is energy. It is presence. It is the feeling a woman creates when she walks into a room, when she speaks, when she listens, when she loves, when she makes a man feel like more than a paycheck, protector, or prop for her self-esteem. Modern women don't create that feeling anymore. Not because they're incapable, but because they were trained not to. They were taught to be admired, not adored. Feared, not understood. Strong, not soft. Wanted sexually, not valued emotionally. They were never taught how to be desirable beyond the surface. And here's the harsh truth. When beauty fades, emptiness shows. But the collapse is not irreversible, only unrecognized. A woman who embraces femininity becomes rare. A woman who chooses humility becomes magnetic. A woman who understands masculine psychology becomes unforgettable. A woman who brings peace becomes irreplaceable. Because truly desirable women haven't disappeared. They've just become outnumbered by women who think desirability is their birthright rather than their responsibility. So why is female desirability collapsing in the modern age? Because women abandoned the very qualities that made them desirable. Because culture convinced them masculinity was power and femininity was weakness. Because ego replaced softness. Because validation replaced connection. Because independence replaced intimacy. Because entitlement replaced gratitude. Because femininity was sacrificed for identity politics. Because emotional intelligence was replaced by attitude. Because vulnerability was replaced by pride. And the final truth is the darkest one. Men haven't stopped desiring women. They've stopped desiring modern femininity because it no longer exists. See the pattern. Protect your energy. This is Depth Realm.